we we tend to get stymied into certain traditional notions about darshan, and we limit it to a particular deity or a particular person. And here in our understanding, we want to expand that realization, that understanding, to living instruments too. And Jyotishi and Deviji, as we see in the flyer for today, are living instruments of that spiritual power. The masters, Yogananda ji writes in the Autobiography of a Yogi about his healing through a picture of Lahiri Mahashaya at the age of 8. And he talks about how his mother tells him to inwardly bow to Lahiri Mahashaya because Master was so weak he could not even lift up his hands to pranam to Lahiri Mahashaya. And he said he writes in the autobiography that he saw a blinding light, and immediately all the symptoms of fasciatic cholera which he was suffering from, everything just disappeared. And it is interesting, he talks about, of course, the healing, but he says a very important line. And the deeper and greater healing that he felt from that moment was, as he writes, an intensification of love. Isn't that wonderful? He said, I felt an intensification of love which has stayed with me ever since. So there are deeper aspects to, darshan. Yes, we may experience something on a level that we experience, but always try to dive deeper through your meditations, through continuous engagement, spiritual engagement. Darshan is not just about seeing. It is an active engagement. And that is why a principle here that we want to apply is very important. As the scripture says, it is more blessed to give than to receive. How do you receive? How do you receive the blessing of a darshan? Passively, we can only receive so much. But when we are actively offering, and what are we offering? We are offering our heart's love. We are offering the adoration of our consciousness, of our being. We are offering adoration not to a particular personality. We are not talking about personalities. This is not sectarian. We are talking about the presence of light. We are talking about being in a divine presence. And that sense of being, that sense of self-offering, it draws to us very naturally then the power of grace. Yogananda ji said the eyes are the windows of the soul. It's a good experiment to do every now and then. Take the eyes of the master, of Swamiji, of their living instruments, Jyotishi, Deviji, look into their eyes and try to feel and explain to yourself too, what am I feeling? Souls that have spent a lifetime and continue to a lifetime of service to God and gurus. What do you think their form is about? Their form, their consciousness radiates that spiritual power, radiates that peace, that joy, that light, that love, that is a fruit of their labors, that is offered for all to receive. But we can receive only when we are open. And that openness is about that unconditional self-offering, without any question. And the principle of magnetism. What is the principle of magnetism? We touch somebody's feet, we look into somebody's eyes, not as a way of, let me see how much can I draw from, them. No. The question is, how can I offer my heart's love? That needs to be the central theme of darshan. What can I bring? Remember that beautiful story of the beggar who was told that the king is coming his way, and he was so delighted, and he thought, oh, this is a wonderful day for me, today I can ask much more. And but what is his surprise when the king comes to him and he asks, what do you have to give me? He couldn't believe what he was hearing. And he reluctantly puts his hand into his bag and brings out the smallest grain of corn that he had. And then when he reaches home, he realizes, he sees that that smallest grain of corn had become gold. And he thought to himself with deep regret, if only I had given everything I had. So when we come for darshan, let's bring our heart of love, of adoration, of reverence, and offer it unconditionally to the person. That opens spiritual doors for our consciousness. Jyotishji often talks about the story when he came to Swami Kriyananda ji many years ago in 1969. And Swamiji invited him to help. He said, I'm doing a project, I'm working on a project. Can you help me? And he says, yes. And he says, I didn't realize that the project would be so long. And even today, he is on that project. And what is this project, friends? This project is one of continuous self-improvement till we find ourselves one with the masters, till we find ourselves one in divine light, till we find ourselves becoming the light. But there are many principles along the way that we need to keep aligning ourselves to. Darshan is one of them. Reverence, adoration is very important. To as many as those who received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. And the other spiritual principle that Yogananda ji often talked about in the disciple-guru relationship, he says there has to be one physical touch. Now, once the master comes and leaves, where is that physical touch going to come from? It comes through their living channels. Often we apply our mind and look at, different aspects of people's lives and say, oh no, this can't work, this won't work, and this doesn't make sense. We want to be wary of such questioning that is not born of intuition. Questioning that is born of the intellect often leads to self-doubt. And it is something that we want to bring into our meditation, place it at the Guru's feet, and ask for guidance. Constructive questioning, Swami Kriyananda ji said, is important because that is what will bring us to right understanding. That is what will take us further in our spiritual progress and towards freedom. I want to, for a brief moment, share the picture of Jyotishji and Deviji. Let's look at this radiant picture of theirs. Look at those eyes. Look at the peace, that love, their whole aura. It's radiant, it's shining. There's so much joy. There's so much sweetness. That is the power of spiritual life. And that is what? That is the gift that is given to you and me, friends. And like I said, continuous engagement. They're here. And Master said, attunement is not about physical proximity. He said, get to know me in meditation. Send them your prayers, send them your blessings as they continue to go to different centers, spread light and love and wisdom through their talks, their sharing, their presence. Tune into their talks, make time. Don't be thinking, don't, convince yourself, oh, there will be a recording available, I'll catch the recording later. That is not necessarily darshan. You can do so later too, but there is a power to time. There's a power to when something is unfolding live at a certain moment. Make time, tune into their schedule, tune into their talks around India. Of course, there is a spiritual renewal week that will take place in Puri. And that's a wonderful time for all of us from across India to gather together and be in their presence. with closed eyes, open hearts, tuning into their voice, tuning into the words, the power behind the words. What are words? They are vibrations of energy. As Yogananda ji writes about affirmation, he says words that that have spiritual conviction, sincerity, are like highly explosive atomic bombs that can shatter the rocks of difficulties. The words that come from a life of spiritual living, dedication, complete self-offering must carry that power of an explosive bomb that can shatter the rocks of our difficulties. But are we bringing that faith? Are we bringing that conviction when we listen to them, when we look at them, when we pranam to them? Do we have that faith and conviction? Or is it just a fleeting moment in which we are firmly rooted in the ego? The more we can give, the more we can receive. The more we can transcend our ego consciousness, the more we can give and the more we can receive. So this is a sacred time, and I would invite all of us in these next few weeks to tune into Jyotishji and Deviji's presence, the masters and Swamiji's presence through them. Whose power do they carry? We all know now through our understanding of spiritual principles, there is nothing that we can call our own. And the power, the only power that exists in this world is of God and gurus. And it is their power, their light that is flowing through them. Early in the years of the healing ministry, our erstwhile late director, Mary Kretzmann, writes, they used to conduct certain experiments where they would explore the influence of certain energies on people's aura during prayer. And they realize even the simple act of bringing your palms together expands your aura. Also, during energization, simply carrying a spiritual book and an autobiography, a darshan, looking into the eyes of the master, looking into the eyes of a spiritual person, where the eyes carry light and freedom, greatly expanded the aura of the person, 20% more than the normal aura. And science is now proving, from a neurological perspective, they are saying that yes, darshan, which is scientifically how they explain it, is tuning into uplifting images actually reduce stress levels and anxiety. One moment in the company of a saint can be our raft over the waters of delusion. Seize this moment. Don't let time go by. Don't let the waters flow by without riding the tide towards freedom. Oh. Let's take a few moments visualizing Jyotishji and Deviji at the spiritual eye. Let's see them in the light of the masters, sending them our heart's love, blessings. And let us see the light radiate out into the world, bringing peace, harmony, deep spiritual upliftment to all who can receive it. Rubbing our palms together, let us chant Om 3 times, sending out these blessings. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.